What is up, everybody, and welcome to Talking Ball, y'all. I am Cass Hargis. That is Jason Dewey and Lance Lacoste. We're here tonight previewing Week 7 of the LHSAA football season. How are we doing tonight, fellas?
Excited. Looking at these matchups, this is definitely one of the best weeks of football. Like, you're getting into some serious district matchups. It's unbelievable to slate of games.
And it's top to bottom. A lot of times it's not intentional, but we tend to gravitate towards some of these 5A matchups just because it's name brand teams that, have been around the game so much, but it's top to bottom. There's a lot of 2A games out there, 3A games, 4A, 1A. Like and to your point, Lance and Cass, like it's district play getting into it, and there's a little bit extra going into some of those matchups because it's teams that you're familiar with from the same parish, your crosstown rivals. Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit more into this last stretch of games.
Yeah, I'm with you, Lance. Just looking at trying to scale it down. I think we got down to 12 games that we're going to hit heavy on tonight. But, man, they just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And I think we could start with where we kind of feel like we've started every show for good reason in District 2 5A. I mean, this district it's unbelievably – it's crazy just looking at you have Ruston, Neville, Washita, West Monroe, Pineville, Alexandria. This district just doesn't stop. And we'll start with an intra-parish rivalry with Washita Parish going to West Monroe. Washita coming off of their first loss of the season last week, a 7-point loss to Ruston. West Monroe, big victory last week against Alexandria on a game-winning field goal. These two met, obviously, last year. West Monroe won 15-13. I think this is a different Rebels team under Coach Deiser. He's done a great job of solidifying this program. We talked on Sunday about it feels like West Monroe is back. This is going to be a tremendous atmosphere at Don Shaw's Field at Rebel Stadium.
Yeah, we kind of crowned West Monroe as being back last week after that big victory. But bottom line is, if they don't beat Washita Parish this week, they're not back. And so it was a huge one, really, for West Monroe. A lot on the line at home. This is the point of the season where I think defense is really starting to show up. Both of these teams have played pretty good defense considering that district. And then on the other side, Washita Parish only won 4 games last year. So, they came in 5-0 last week. Nobody up there really believes in them just yet. They got a lot to prove as well. And so, being 5-1, they played Ruston very closely last week, but they couldn't quite get it done. Made a couple too many mistakes there to get it done against Ruston. So I'm sure they learned a lot from their loss last week. And then again, on the West Monroe side, they're coming off a really emotional victory last week versus Ash. We talked a lot about the way that one ended. So you're always looking for, after a big emotional win like they had, is this going to be a little bit of a letdown for West Monroe? If so, you got way too tough of an opponent to have a letdown. So it just seems like a whole lot to prove on the Washita Parish side and a whole lot to lose if you're on that West Monroe side.
Lance, you hit on it. If your highest high comes your lowest low. So we'll see. How will West Monroe respond in this matchup? You get a big win against Alexandria at home. And I think when you look at West Monroe's schedule last year, and as opposed to this year, it's like they were playing all these games on the road, guys. Like they played Catholic on the road. They played Alexandria on the road. So they're getting it on the opposite end. This is only a 2-point win for West Monroe last year. So this is a Washita Parish team that we talked about the insane stats they were putting up a week ago. They lost by 7 points. Maybe probably felt like they should have had it, turned the ball over near the end zone. But, Montrell O'Connor and Macario Dade, both guys really putting up impressive numbers for that Washita Parish offense. Both nearly have 700 yards on the season. The quarterback and running back duo are really dynamic. When you turn on the tape, you can see what they're able to do. This Rebel defense has been a group that when you turn on the film, though, they're physically imposing. They do a great job setting the edge. They mix up their looks. They're a 4-2 base, but you see them running 3-4. You see them running 4-3. Like they're not afraid to do what it takes depending on the matchup. And that's why being a defensive coordinator in high school is probably the most difficult job in football, because you can see 10 completely different types of offense in 10 weeks. Like if you're playing college football, you're probably going to see a variation of the spread. It might be the pistol, it might be something similar to that, but you're not going to see a wing tee. You're not going to see split veer. So it's going to be a challenge. I really do like this West Monroe defense. The big thing to keep in mind, this Washita Parish team had not committed a turnover until last week. They're plus 11 in the turnover margin. So I think this is going to be a big point in the game. If West Monroe can hang on to the football, how does that impact Washita Parish's game? Because that's what they've thrived on, despite having, so we'll see. But we know Trez Davis and that West Monroe offense has been raring, and they've really been doing a great job putting it together.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I think when you look at this matchup, can the West Monroe defense create turnovers and put Washita in a position that they haven't been in? Like you said, their first turnover of the season was in last week's last drive of the game. So can they put pressure on Montrell Connor? Last week he was 5 for 19 for 31 yards. And if they can simulate that or do something similar to what Russin did, it's going to make it tough. But then on the flip side, this West Monroe offense with Trez Davis and Christian Ponte, this is an explosive offense as well. So they can score and put up points. But I think the key is going to be the turnover margin. And if Washita can take care of the football and not give this West Monroe offense a short field or turn it over at a big point in the game, they're going to stay in it and have a chance to win at the end.
Interesting matchup, too, that we didn't talk about, though. West Monroe's offensive line, I really like them. Tylen George, Tulane commit, really impressive player, but they are really fast and physical on that West Monroe offensive line. They're going up against one of the best in the state in Dylan Berryman, Texas commit. So that matchup is going to be interesting to see as well.
It's definitely going to be a physical football game, too, that's for sure. Also in 2-5A, Rustin at Neville. Rustin traveling over to Monroe and Bill Ruppel Stadium. This is a huge matchup up there. Rustin comes in at 5-1, 1-0 in district. Neville is 4-2, 1-0 in district. This is a Neville team that early on in the season, Parker Robinson was kind of in, kind of out. He seems to be back healthy. But this Rustin offense, this Rustin team, I think everything goes through Dalen Powell and Ahmad Hudson. And that's going to be, this Neville defense is going to have their hands full.
Rustin reminds me the most of like a Catholic League style football team from the standpoint of they're going to control the game. They're going to play really clean offensively. They're extremely efficient in the red zone because they got a giant tight end / receiver and Ahmad Hudson, 6'7". He's already got 7 touchdowns. And so beyond that, both teams, we saw Rustin held Washita only 14 points. That's pretty rare up there. So we expect that they probably have the best defense in the district up there. And, of course, they're very well battle-tested. We've already said they've played in almost every state across the South. And then on the other side, Coach Mike Collins, head coach at Neville, was actually my first defensive coordinator in college. He's a great one. He's a 4-2-5 base, but he's lining up all over the place, zone pressures. He's not afraid to bring it. And so he's definitely going to challenge those guys. And he's going to have a great game plan for Ahmad Hudson and Dalen Powell, like you mentioned.
And I really like the secondary of Neville. I know they've given up a lot of points in a few games early on, too. We all watched that incredible game against Evangel. But Julian Burns and Jaden Reed, 2 guys in the secondary that are Division I commits, Burns to UNC and Reed to ULL. Really impressive players. But, man, their offense, you talk about Robinson, Zaylen Young has been incredible this year, 765 yards on the season, 7 touchdowns. But really, a guy who I watched a few times, really like Jarvis Blackstone. They're back. He's a sophomore, really physical runner, and I really like the way that he carries the football. Looking at this Rustin team, like you guys said, they want to run the football. They want to control the game. If you watch Trades Green, right, at LSU, and then you turn on the tape and you're watching a high school football game, you might get them confused with Ahmad Hudson. He is every bit of 6'7". He is a playmaker. He goes up and grabs the football. There's a reason why he's like I think he's a top 100 prospect in both football and basketball. He's got offers
Yeah, he is.
everywhere. Yeah, I mean, and he wants to play both sports, and why not when you are the type of athlete that he is? So I'm interested to see what they're able to do against the secondary. But as you guys mentioned, their staple is running the football. And Dalen Powell, as a sophomore, has really looked well. But again, it might come down to Sam Hartwell, their quarterback. He's, it's his first year as a starter going against the secondary. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and I think this is – and both teams they're kind of built in the same mold. They want to be physical. They want to play defense. It's going to be who can kind of impose that will on the other. And again, it's like the games we talked about last week, special teams, turnovers. Special teams, turnovers. And these two teams are very well coached. Both of these staffs do a great job. So, again, it's going to come down to a play or two. And if you make the play, you win. If you don't, you lose. So some very interesting stuff going on, as always, in District 2 5A. Down in the Lafayette area, another one, this is kind of a clash of styles here. We've got in District 6 2A, you've got LCA traveling to Notre Dame. LCA, maybe the most impressive 6-week stretch to start the season that we've seen throughout the state. Notre Dame kind of maybe quietly flying under the radar. They had a big win in week 1 versus Southside. Their only losses to Turling's Catholic, 24-20. That's a Turling's Catholic team that's undefeated. So Notre Dame, nothing to be ashamed of there. But these two teams met twice last year. The district matchup took place in week 7 as well. Notre Dame won 42-28. They met again in the quarterfinals. LCA won 38-35. And I think that Notre Dame doesn't want to play a game that's as high scoring as maybe these games were last year, but I think that's going to be the way they're going to have to win. So if LCA's defense, which comes in giving up over 28 points a game, if they're going to be scored on by Notre Dame, it's just going to be who has the ball last. But that's not what Notre Dame wants to do, but they've shown and they've proven that if that's what they have to do, they can do that as well.
So this LCA team is obviously great. The last time we got super high on them, they went up against an extremely experienced coaching staff and turned it over 7 times. And so that's what I'm looking at here. I mean, they obviously just had a huge win. We all know how good Braylon Walker is, but we've also seen, their downfall at 1.2 this year. So I'm looking at the Notre Dame side. Their head coach has just north of 50 years of coaching. And so you got to think there's some decent experience there in that coach's office, and they're going to have a great game plan for this Braylon Walker and this high-powered offense. So this is a really intriguing matchup for all the reasons that you said. I mean, Notre Dame at home, they're playing pretty good defense all year. And, again, they're going to have a really good game plan for these guys at LCA. And, I mean, the schedule that LCA is playing is just crazy. We talk about them every single week. I mean, who's next? Who they play next? It's like I need to see the rest of that schedule now. So it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, next is Welsh, and then they go Evangel.
Oh, my God. They still got Evangel. And this is a district game, correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a 6-2A matchup. And when you look at this Notre Dame team, you talked about it. I think one of the most underrated wins in the season has been their victory over Southside.
Mm-hmm.
This was a road win. It was Southside breaking in their brand new stadium. The Sharks, for those mascot lovers, the Southside Sharks, their stadium.
Lots of Sharks in Youngsville. There's lots of Sharks in Youngsville.
But their stadium is called the Reef, and it is sick. It's a beautiful stadium, but that is one, as you know me, as a guy who loves wordplay, that is brilliant. But it's a big win. That's a physical football team that likes to run the ball. They jumped out to a big lead in that game. So I think that's an underrated win that Notre Dame has had. And as Lance pointed out, Coach Cook is a legend, Hall of Fame guy. He's been around the block. And on the other side of it, LCA has first-year head coach in Matt Stanford. And it's really, look, if there's anything that a first-year coach didn't think about prepping in game week, Coach Cook will have thought of it. So that'll be interesting to see that dynamic. Although last year, if you remember, he was the interim coach and beat him in the playoffs. So how much does that kind of play into it as well? We already know about this LCA team, man. High flyers, they throw the ball around, they run the ball, everywhere. You got Bellard in the backfield. You got August, who's Draylon August, who might get not as much, his name not called as much just because of you got Braylon Walker and you got Braden Allen, all D1 commits. So I'm intrigued to see this matchup, but I think it's going to come down to I think it's opposite of what you guys are saying. Talking about high scoring offense, it's kind of my mantra. If y'all haven't picked it up by now, control the football, run down the clock, play physical, and slow the game down. You got to limit this LCA team's possessions. That's the only way that I think anybody's going to have a shot against them. You've got to limit their possessions, and you got to eat the clock. And the question is, will Notre Dame be able to do it? And we'll see that when this game kicks off.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think, and we said this before, and last week LCA they were able to dominate Lafayette Renaissance without a big night from the man that I'm about to talk about. But I think this game is going to be on Caden Bellick and this running game for LCA. We know what the UL commit Braden Walker can do. We know he can throw it to Braden Allen. But when it's 3rd and 2 and they need to run the football to get a first down, can Caden Bellard and that LCA offensive line do it against an extremely physical Notre Dame defense? And I think that's where this game's going to be won or lost. If LCA can run the football, whether that's to control the clock by picking up 5 and 6 yards or even hitting big plays and letting Bellard go off, I think if they can run the football against this Notre Dame defense, that's their path to winning the game.
That's a big LCA offensive line too.
Yeah.
Got some big dudes on that line. I know there's one that's 6'6", 350. I mean, they're huge. I think their average is like over 300 pounds.
This LCA team they're interesting. It's almost like if we could find like an Indiana basketball, they put all the classes together for the playoffs and go play. If they could do that in football, I think this might be the team that can make a run and do that. Also in District 2A, in District 9 2A, got a Northlake Christian team coming in at 3-2. They're traveling to Slidell to play Pope John Paul. Northlake Christian has not played a district game yet. Pope John Paul is 1-0. In the matchup last year, Northlake Christian won 27-21. This Northlake Christian team, when they get off the bus and they put their pads on, they look the part. There's a big offensive line. They've got big running back, maybe one of the best running backs in the area down here on the North Shore and in the New Orleans metro area, Cameron Kasnoff. Jordan Willis, head coach James Willis' son, out at receiver. He also plays cornerback. They're a physical team. They're an athletic team. This is going to be an interesting matchup for a Pope John Paul team who defensively, they're only giving up 16.8 points a game. They're playing really, really good football. I think these are two of the best teams in the district. The winner of this is probably going to win a district championship. So we've got a fun one out in Slidell this week.
This is the opposite of the District 2-5A, I feel like. This is going to be smash mouth football for a lot of reasons that you just mentioned. I mean, Sam Grant, quarterback from Northlake Christian, 6'3", 200. You already mentioned Cameron Kasnov. That is some big 2A backfield. And so they want to run the football, play defense. On the opposite side, Coach Philip Pygott, good buddy of mine. He was also on the coaching staff in Northwestern at one time defensively. Goose egg football, he calls it. He wants to just run the football and play defense. He would prefer if there was never a ball or if the forward pass was never even invented. Right?
No
so
air to football.
Yep, run the football, play great defense. And so his guys are going to be prepared. You know, both of these teams are offensively right now they're averaging 34 and 31 points, but that really doesn't speak to the style of play they want to play. That's just they've had some weaker opponents where they were able to really run the score up. Yep. But this could easily be like a 9-7 type football game, I think. And so it is a really intriguing matchup. You know, like you said, I think this is probably the two best teams in that district, and so it's going to be a heck of a brawl out there on the North Shore.
Yep. I would anticipate as well, guys. Like these are two really good football teams, and I think the district came down to this game last year as well. Mm-hmm. And when you to Cass's point, you look at some of these offensive linemen. Landon Luparella, 6'5", 280, and this is a 2A ball club. Like that's you gotta remember, like you gotta kind of scale it, right? Like this is a 2A 6'6", 350-pound guy. When you talk about the amount of guys that are available. So they got a big offensive line again. Wyatt Parrott, 6'2", 280. They got some physical guys up front. I really do, when looking at this Pope John Paul team, though, I really like Dom Smith, running back for their team. Again, I think he ran for 1,400 yards last season. He's 4A powerlifting state champ, strong guy. So I think he's going to be a major key in this matchup. for Pope John Paul to stay on the field offensively. And also, man, Aiden Fairchild, free safety for them. He runs around, flies the football. He does an excellent job for that defense too. But there's so many athletes on North Lake Christian. Grant at quarterback is a big guy, although they've really relied on running the football with Kaz Knob, and he's such a dynamic player, and Willis. So I think it's going to be the team. The winner of this game is going to be the team that is able to stay on the field longer. I think when you look at time of possession in this, whoever has the ball for longer, it means that they probably executed their offensive style more so than the other team. So I think it's going to be a tight matchup. It'll be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, no doubt. I got to see this North Lake Christian team in week one. And in the second half of the game that I watched, they exclusively went to the Wildcat and were just snapping it to Kasnoff. And they was getting behind. They would go unbalanced. They would add an extra tackle. And it was just, we're going to run. They weren't pulling anybody. It was just zone right, zone left. And he would get back there and go. And it was 3, 4, 5 yards of play. So they definitely want to possess the football. Pope John Paul wants to do the same thing. It's going to be a battle of wills. A good one out in Slidell on Friday night. Across the lake from Pope John Paul in the New Orleans area, you got St. Aug at Rummel. We mentioned Rummel last week, maybe the hottest team, not just in the area, but maybe in the state with the way that they've played. Facing a St. Aug team that is explosive, they're fun to watch, they're athletic, they're talented. This is a game that last year when these two teams matched up, Rummel won 26-20 in overtime. The St. Aug offense comes in averaging 49 points a game. This Rummel defense is giving up only 12 points per game, and what's kind of what you expect from a Nick Monica coach Rummel Raider team. So when we talk about being a battle of wills, it's the Rummel defense against the St. Aug offense, and I don't think that we would expect anything different from these two.
We've seen, Rummel 2 weeks ago really held down the high-powered Brother Martin offense. Last week, they hold down the high-powered Warren Easton offense. St. Aug, probably just a little bit more of a challenge in those two offenses, a little bit more weapons. Vashawn Coulon, obviously a great quarterback. The thing I'm most interested in would be I would want to watch literally the first 6 to 8 minutes of this game. I think that if I'm Rummel, I'm taking the ball first. If I win the toss, I'm taking the ball first. And I'm going out to prove a point that we're going to run the football and we're going to control this clock. And if Rummel can, their opening drive goes, again, 5, 6, 7 minutes and ends with a touchdown, all of a sudden, quickly, you put pressure on that St. Aug offense to feel like you're not getting many possessions tonight. This is going to be a little bit different style of play. And so I'd be really interested to just see how this game starts. I really think you're going to learn a lot about this matchup just in the first 5 or 6 minutes of this football game. And then, it really comes down to, again, that Rummel defense. Can they hold down this St. Aug offense? But, again, easiest way to hold them down is to keep them on the sideline. So, I'm really, really intrigued by this matchup. Obviously Carr's great, but I think this matchup, and then throw Curtis in there. Curtis beat Rummel already. Those feels like those are the three main teams really fight for that second spot behind Carr.
And, when you talk about Carr, actually their style, if you remember, Lance, it's not what you'd expect. Typically, you expect them to see them air out the ball. They did ground the football. That was really what they leaned on against Holy Cross, and that's kind of been their mantra almost, Trey Garrison in their backfield. But they've been running the football behind that big physical offensive line. And let's give the offensive line some love tonight, guys. Let's look at the big boys up front, right? Let's look at what Rummel's working with, right? You got Raymond Hughes, who's a sophomore. He's 6'5", 320. Big dude. Right? He's getting some looks and some attention. You got Eddie Connolly, who's 6'4", 290. Jules Bartholomew, who's 6'3", 280. These are some big dudes who are going to be going up against a talented St. Aug defense. But then you also have to include, in the backfield, Jaden Terrence, who's been lighting it up. And, Coach Monica has said in interviews, I want those big runs. I want to see 6 runs over 20 yards. I think it was either 20 or 30 yards. And I don't know how many of those you're going to have the opportunity to get against this defense. Because, look, we're talking about that physical offensive line. You got Ty Dominic on the other side of the football, 6'3", 240. He's a UL commit as well for St. Aug. I think that's going to be the most fun matchup to watch of the night. That defensive front of St. Aug against this physical offensive line. That that St. Aug is going to have a big play at some point, whether it's Miguel Whitley, whether it's Raekwon Williams. They're going to have a play. But the question is, how does this Rummel defense respond in those moments? They've only, it said, given up 12 points a game throughout the season. So it'll be a really fascinating matchup, contrast of styles. One of, if not the most interesting games of the night.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that Rummel secondary and that defense trying to slow down the St. Aug offense, Lance said it earlier too. They did it to Easton Royal, and they did it. They gave up 7 points to Brother Martin by playing defense with him. So can Miguel Whitley and Bashan Coulon get more than one chunk play? That's what happened. Brother Martin got one. Can St. Aug get more than one? Because I think it's going to be really difficult to drive the football on this defense. Like if you're going to ask St. Aug to go 4, 5, 6 possessions of 8 to 10 plus plays to go score, I don't know that they can do that because this Rummel defense is so good. So they're going to have to hit big plays. And can a Rummel defense limit that? And then Lance, you mentioned it on offense for Rummel, possess the football. That's what Rummel wants to do. They want to use that big offensive line. They want to give it to Jaden Terrence. They want to give it to Corian Hawkins. Let them get 6-7 yards a pop, possess the football, keep that St. Aug offense on the sidelines. So again, this is going to be a fun one in the Catholic League. Elsewhere,
26-20
overtime game
last year, guys. Yeah. And again, look, teams look pretty close to what they were last year. It might not be the same people, but same pieces in place, same everything. So that's why I think this one's so fun to watch.
Yep, and it's what's funny is it's 26-20 game. I think that maybe can St. Aug win that kind of game? That's going to be interesting. Does St. Aug need to win it, or can they only win when it's 49-41, or can they win the defensive battle where they've got to put some drives together and play? We'll get that answer on Friday. In Baton Rouge, a big one in the district with Catholic Baton Rouge going to Central. This is a game, a Catholic team that's well battle tested. Going on the road to play the Division I non-select defending state champs in Central. Central comes in at 5-1. Catholic is 4-2. So one interesting little tidbit here, and it's been 3 years, so just kind of there's probably no carryover. But Central's head coach David Semino was at Catholic before he left to take the Central job, and he's done a tremendous job. These two teams met last year. Catholic won 35-17. This is a Catholic team and a Catholic program under Hudson Fuller, who they just win. I know they're coming at 4-2, but the schedule they play, they just win football games. They do it with multiple quarterbacks. They do it multiple ways. They have a running game led by Justin Baptiste and Jaden Miles that's really difficult to stop. And when you throw in the fact that they're playing two quarterbacks and they're really, it's a different look almost every series. It's a difficult offense to slow down.
So Catholic at 4-2, a 4-3 Catholic team would be a pretty rare sight, right? I mean, that would have to be one of their worst starts in a long time. I don't know the last time Central beat Catholic, but I feel like it's probably been a pretty long time. And so I know this is just one of those matchups where, this is going to be a very motivated Central team. You already mentioned the offenses. I'm looking at the defenses on both sides of the ball here. I mean, they got all kinds of offers from all over the place. Jermichael Garrett, Ole Miss guy from Central. Mason Moore, cornerback. He's got a bunch of offers from Central. And so this is going to be a heck of a matchup. And like you said, it's really hard to kind of make out what Catholic is this year because every time you watch them, there's a different quarterback, there's a different running back. And so I don't know if it's a matter of just them having so much talent and trying to figure out what's going to be what works best, or something else, right? I mean, who knows? But I can't imagine even preparing for them. But it's a heck of a road, to be 4-2 going on the road to the reigning state champ that would love nothing more than to beat you. It's a heck of a matchup here for both of these teams.
To your point, Lance, you called it. The last time that Central – now, to be fair, Central had a winning streak of 5 games. But the last time that Central beat Catholic was in 2012. So they've lost 3 straight. But, and ironically, before that, they lost 4 in a row. So they like streaks in this series. They like streaks. So that's why you don't want to lose a game, right? You're worried that trend is going to start continuing in that direction. I think this game has so much defensive talent on the field that it's unreal. Jaden Vessel is a guy who I stumbled upon this summer. I was watching his tape, defensive end for Catholic. Guys. He's got an offer from Liberty. I know he was visiting Tulane. I'm not sure if he got an official offer for them, but guys, he flies to the football.
We've been this deep into the game and hadn't mentioned probably the best defensive player that's on the field.
Yeah, Brian.
And Blaine Bradford.
Yeah, I know.
Ohio State kid, right?
Yeah, Ohio State, and he's an incredible athlete too. But there's so much defensive talent on the field on both teams. But to your point, like I don't think Catholic is like they're not really sure what to do. Like that's their identity. They're going to throw a bunch of stuff at you and say, what are you going to adjust to and what are you not? And they do it. Here's the thing. And again, if you really wanted to be like, let me find something to complain about, you can say, well, they don't excel in any one style. No, but they're really consistent in every single one. And they do pretty dang good to the point where you could say they're all a strength. Like they run the football really well. When they need to pass the football, they find a way to get the job done. And they always find a way to win. Like they just find a way to win. Central, I really like the pieces on this defense as well. Lane Billings is a guy who I really like, transferred over from Live Oak this season, linebacker, along with Garrett. Those two are really, really dynamic too. I'm interested to see how this passing attack of Max Gassiot, the quarterback at Central, and Marcus Watson, Keithon Womack. I'm interested to see how they're going to go up against this Catholic secondary, because we talked about Catholic's secondary and defense being such a major strength. I'm just curious, can this offensive Central continue to roll? Been putting up 37 points a game. I'm just curious to see how that matchup will go.
Yeah, no, that's going to be interesting, especially when you got Vessel getting after the quarterback up front. But to me, and it's funny to say this because Central comes in, they're 5-1. Their only loss was to an LCA team by 7 points. But for as talented as this defense is, they give up points. They're giving up 29 points a game. They gave up 55 to LCA. They gave up 37 to Walker. So can the Central defense put it all together? Because they're going to need to, and they're going to have to be prepared for everything that Catholic is going to throw at them. So can they hold that offense in check enough to give the Catholic offense in check enough to give their own offense a chance to try to get some sustained drives against this Catholic defense? But man, this is going to, that place is going to be packed. Central would love nothing more than to have welcome Catholic into town and to take them down with a huge victory. And you're right, Lance. Seeing Catholic at a possible 4-3 is going to be, we have to do some double takes. And that would also, that would be, Catholic's lost 2 of the last 3 games. Their only win being Liberty last week. They lost 2 before that. So this Catholic team, it almost feels funny to say like they're going to need a win moving forward. But this is a big game for both teams. Up in District 2A, we've got Oak Grove hosting the Mangum Dragons. Mangum comes in at 5-1, 6-1. Oak Grove is 5-1. Both teams are undefeated in district play. It's almost funny that it's taken us 7 weeks to kind of feature Oak Grove on here. Again, another program that just wins. They just roll out of bed and win. Oak Grove won this game last year, 26-20. Mangum coming in averaging 46 points a game. Oak Grove averaging 42 points a game. This is going to be an interesting matchup in that both teams, for their size, very big offensive lines. They're going to want to run the football right at you. It's going to be a tremendous atmosphere at Oak Grove.
The one thing I'm intrigued by, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, they're both in 2A, but Mangum plays in Division 4 non-select, and Oak Grove plays in Division 3 non-select. That's pretty strange, right? They're both non-select.
Well, again, Lance, that's why it's so difficult for people, casual fans, to even follow along with the playoffs.
It's difficult for people that do it for a living, Jason. I'm telling you.
It's insanity, though.
It's
guys.
crazy.
Like,
It's
it's crazy, but you are you're right.
That makes sense. So anyway, seems like we're going to learn a lot about the Mangum Dragons, right? I mean, to play at Oak Grove, to right in They've won state championships 4 of the last 5 years. Doesn't feel like either one of these teams are super battle tested just yet. They both have nice, pretty records, but Oak Grove hasn't been bad in a long time. So we can certainly assume they're really good. The main number I'm looking at, Mangum, is giving up over 28 points per game. That's probably not going to bode well versus an Oak Grove team. And so yeah, I mean, tall task for Mangum. Like you said, big offensive line, tiny running back, 5'5", 150. Willie Randolph kind of hides behind that big offensive line for the Mangum side. So interesting the way they run the football over there. But yeah, it just feels like Oak Grove is Oak Grove. Let's find out who Mangum is. I think we're going to learn a lot about him after this one.
Yep.
Yeah, and Colby Casey, sophomore quarterback, has been a part of that running game as well. They took on Faraday last week, which was an undefeated team at the time. And Faraday is a team that, for circumstances, they had to drop out the playoffs. So, I think it's a team that you really don't know what they could have done in the playoffs. They come back this year. They still have a really impressive offense. They gave up a lot of points in that game. And they took the Gina Giants pretty much down to the wire in that game too. And Gina is a very good football team.
Gina put up 64 on them too.
Yeah. Like, look, they gave up a lot of points. Like, let's make no mistake about it. But Gina puts up a lot of points on a lot of teams. So I don't think there's anything new. So Oak Grove is going to be physical. That's what Oak Grove football is, right? They're a really physical football team. Calvin Hale, I think, is going to be a big key for this Oak Grove football team. 6'2", 330. Big young man. And again, when you talk about scaling it, right? So scale size, when you're talking about two-way football, that's like 6'9", 400 pounds. So we'll see how much of an impact he has on this game. He's been known to go both ways. So I'm interested to see. I think the winner of this game is going to be in the driver's seat of a very difficult district. I would argue the toughest two-way district in the state. You also have Ouachita Christian in this district. You have Faraday. This is a jam-packed two-way district. So I think the winner sets himself up to win a district. However, you could lose any week to any team the way this district goes.
Yeah, that can kind of go for the rest of all of these districts that we've really talked about, especially tonight. We try to project what the implications may be down the road, but it's such a week-to-week game. Especially when these teams start to play each other, you just got to get to the next week, and it's almost like we can forget about what happened last week. Let's just try to win and move on to this next one. And maybe it's not that big of a deal in 4 weeks, but for this week, this is going to be a huge game. And Oak Grove, always one of the better atmospheres in Louisiana high school football, is going to be on full display Friday night when the Dragons of Mangum come to town. We had to get the Dragons in. We had to talk about
the Dragons in.
Yeah.
Purple and gold.
That's right. They need to change their colors to green. But anyway, speaking of mascots, down in my old neck of the woods, Youngsville, Louisiana, Vermilion Catholic Screaming Eagles.
And the Blue Gators.
The Blue Gators of Ascension Episcopal host the Screaming Eagles of Vermilion Catholic. Ascension Episcopal comes in undefeated, 6-0, 1-0 in district. Vermilion Catholic, that's not a typo. They're 1-4 on the season. The defending Division IV Select state champs. Again, we've talked about it, I think maybe last week or the week before. They lost a ton off of last year's state championship team. This is just a blip on the radar for this program under Coach Brock Prejean. VC won the game 49-27 last year. Nothing in the world would make Vermilion Catholic more happy than to ride over to Ascension Episcopal and give them their first loss of the season. The Blue Gators, coached by Jay DiMaggio, this is his first year. I got to give him a shout out because he's also a fellow Southeastern Lion. He was a head coach at Lafayette High prior to. He's been an assistant at Ascension Episcopal. He's done a tremendous job, kind of taking where Coach Stephen Herron had that program and then elevating it. This year, they have behind their LCA transfer quarterback, Brandon Mitchell. It's a very good athlete, a superior athlete that kind of runs the show, and it's almost like a do-everything kind of guy for them. So good, fun matchup down in Youngsville. So see if Vermilion Catholic can kind of get their season back on track.
Easy to look at this one and say, Ascension Episcopal at 6-0 would be the favorite to win here, but VC has played a really tough schedule.
Yep.
That's why we talk about them a whole lot. A lot of teams that are, bigger, often fighting above their weight class this season. Yeah, they lost a good bit, but they're still a state championship program. They have they're senior heavy in the backfield. William Simon, quarterback, also plays outside linebacker, as well as Luke McLean, the running back, another senior. And so, I wouldn't be shocked if VC finds a way to win this game. Again, this is the theme of last week was, a lot of those pretty records kind of fell to the more battle-tested teams. And so that's where my mind is when I look at this matchup.
When you look at points per game, what really stands out, Ascension Episcopal is giving up 11 points a game, and Vermilion Catholic is scoring 14.8. So that number jumps out at me. When you look at Ascension Episcopal, maybe a team that goes really under the radar. I think, Cass, you could probably speak more to that than me, having lived out there, but they probably feel like they don't get looked at and they don't get seen. And I would understand that feeling when you're surrounded by the Vermilion Catholics and all the power STM, like all the powerhouse programs in that region of the state. It's easy to kind of overlook them, but they consistently have to go through coaching changes, and they are consistently contending. They are consistently a team that is playing above their belt and playing teams, down to the wire, winning ball games, making runs in the playoffs. I'm really interested to see this one because we know Vermilion Catholic is young, and I think regardless of what happens in this season, they're going to be able to take from it and build upon it because here's the thing. You have played against a really brutal schedule, and as long as you come out the other end in one piece, you're going to go into the next season feeling a lot better about your odds. This will be a game that I think they have a chance to win. It'll be interesting to see how their offense goes against this Ascension Episcopal defense. Another opportunity. Again, only 11 points in the year, guys. I think that's going to be what's fascinating. Can Vermilion Catholic outdo what they've done throughout the season, or will it be Ascension Episcopal maintaining the status quo, keeping them at a low-scoring game?
Yeah, and the one thing's for sure, too, this Ascension program, they're not overlooking Vermilion Catholic, no matter what their record says. Like, they'll be – Coach Maggio and his staff will have this team ready to play. That is for sure. And, on the other side, Coach Brock Prager will have his team ready to play, too. This is going to be a good game, regardless of what the records say. In the Baton Rouge area, or in Ascension Parish, a little bit of a rivalry between these two teams. I say a little bit being sarcastic. This is a huge rivalry with East Ascension and St. Amant. This game's being played at the Pit at St. Amant. St. Amant comes in 5-1, 1-1 overall. 1-1 in district. East Ascension 4-2 overall, 2-1 in district. Drops a shocker last week to Prairieville, and I think we touched on it Sunday night. Got to be they're looking ahead to St. Amant. Like, that has to be what happened last week. So, I almost think if you're St. Amant, you could throw away what happened last week with East Ascension. You're getting a completely different team. A team that's going to be completely locked in and focused, coming in ready to play. These two teams, every time they play, it seems like it's a close game and something crazy happens. St. Amant won the game last year, 17-12. I think this is if East Ascension can slow down the St. Amant offense, that's going to be the key to the game. This defense, what's that?
I'm saying that's a tall ask.
No, absolutely. But just looking at their numbers with EA, they're giving up 28.6 points a game, and if that defense doesn't kind of cut that number down a little bit, you're right. This St. Amant offense is extremely good. Cooper Babin at quarterback is a really good football player, and they can put up some points quickly. They come in averaging almost 40 a game. So the story of the night, I think, at least in my eyes, is going to be, can the East Ascension defense, led by Javion Johnson and Michael Levy, can they slow down the St. Amant offense enough to give themselves a chance to win?
This feels like the turning point in the season for East Ascension, right? I mean, they come off a bad loss. They're ticked off. They have to be I'm sure they're having a great week of practice this week. Coach Brock Mathern, the former Bell Chase stud, great defensive-minded coach. Dane Chaponche, the offense coordinator out there, great offensive-minded coach. I know this is one of Jason's favorite teams from preseason, so I know he's counting on EA to come through to win.
Come on, Spartans!
So, yeah, I mean, this feels like a huge turning point of what kind of season this is going to end up panning out to be if you're EA, and then of course they lost last year to St. Amant last year too. So I mean, that's just so many reasons why this EA team should be having a great week of practice and come out extremely motivated. Hard to know how this one ends, but I think we do see East Ascension's best football game of the season this week.
The big things when I look at coming into this game, I watched the East Ascension Prairieville game in its entirety. They had some changes at quarterback in the middle of the game. Like, they didn't look comfortable. They didn't feel comfortable. There's athletes on this team, guys. There's a ton of athletes. Always. I mean, look, Jason Blackburn is a stud running back. He's like a bottle of lightning in the backfield. I think he runs like a 4.41. He's blazing speed. At receiver, Jeremiah Merriweather and Jaden Urson are both really talented guys. By the way, guys, your tackle, your 6'6", 290 tackle, Briston Martinez, who's an LSU commit, decided, I'm going to go play tight end this year. So he's running down the field catching touchdowns, which he did last week against Prairieville, and just mauling people. I'm with you guys. I don't know. I will say this. I do think there might have been a bit of looking ahead, but got to give credit where credit's due, man. I think the big question coming into this game is Skylar Kelly for Prairieville is a dog. He's a really impressive quarterback. He runs. He passed exceptionally well. My question is, with Cooper Babin, will they be able to contain him? Are we going to see a similar situation to last week? It feels like they have the coaching in place. It feels like they're coming around with their personnel, but this offense has been lighting it up. We said it, 39 points a game. Jordan Hickerson in the backfield, too, second-team all-district guy last year, really a solid runner. I'm just really curious to see, will East Ascension be able to distribute the ball to their playmakers, and will they be able to find a way to stop this high-powered offense of Santa Ana?
Yeah, I think it's going to – not that – I know the kid's going to want this to be put on his shoulders, but it almost feels like Cooper Babin's got the game on his shoulders. If he goes out and this offense does what they do, it's going to be hard for EA to slow him down. So, nonetheless, it's going to be a very exciting game over there at St. Amant. Back over in the Lafayette area, we have St. Edmund, the Blue Jays, traveling to Sacred Heart. Both teams coming in at 5-1 on the season. This is a St. Edmund team. They beat Sacred Heart last year, 58-7. This is not a misprint. St. Edmunds is averaging 51 points a game. This team is loaded on offense. They've done a great job. Their quarterback, Nathan Zonbreaker, 6'4", 175 pounds, big boy playing quarterback. He's thrown for over 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns. I think we know where we're going with this matchup. You have a St. Edmunds offense averaging 51 points a game, and you have a Sacred Heart defense giving up exactly 5.8 points a game. So that's going to be that's going to dictate the game. This offense against this defense.
You forgot to mention Sacred Heart's mascot.
Do you know it?
What is it?
No, I have no idea. I was hoping you would know.
Trojans. I got you.
The Trojans.
Trojans?
Oh,
no. Trojans.
Trojans.
I know they look like they look like Notre Dame with the gold helmet.
If you really want to play,
I purposely didn't say their mascot.
Make my wife irate to toss a team out there and see if I can get the mascot, because she'll ask, "Why can't you remember what I'm doing around the house? What I just had you 5 minutes ago?" But I can remember that Sacred Heart has the Trojans. I have no idea.
Because that's not important. That's what you tell her. Because that's not.
You can say that to your wife. I will never say that to mine, man. I will never say that to my wife. But interesting. This is a really interesting matchup. I think the defense of Sacred Heart has really been impressive. And sometimes we look at these and we kind of say, who have they played? Like, have they played a team to really test that out? Guys, Sacred Heart's played Opelousas Catholic, and they played Westminster Christian. Two really prolific offenses in the state. They kept both of those games low scoring. And look, they got some guys on the offensive side of the football that can play as well. Jax Fontenot is a really solid receiver for that Sacred Heart football team. I think it's going to come down to, can Sacred Heart slow down that offense of St. Edmund and score enough points? It's just score just enough. Like, you don't have to score 20 or 30 if you can slow down that St. Edmund offense. But looking at last year's score, guys, this is not the same Sacred Heart team.
No, not at all. No.
Completely different ball club.
No, it is. It is a different club, and you've got to believe too. They're looking back at that score. They didn't forget that. There's no way they didn't forget that. So they will be ready to go in Ville Platte on Friday night. Two teams we haven't mentioned, I don't think, all year until tonight, but both teams come in at 5-1 on the season. Donaldsonville's traveling to East Feliciana. Donaldsonville, led by Coach Darnell Lee, comes in. They're scoring 32 points a game, only giving up 10.3 points a game. This East Feliciana team scoring 34 points a game, giving up 21 points a game. Two teams that really have flown under the radar. And I don't think just with us. I think across the state, it's not two teams you really haven't heard a lot about. And you look up in week 7, we've got 2 5-1 teams battling out. So going to be an interesting game at East Feliciana.
And this is another one is this a district matchup?
This is not a district matchup.
No, it's not.
It's not a district matchup.
Yeah. So, interesting. Go for it. What you got?
No. I was just gonna say no. So it again, it's kind of that late season game. It's
the old bye in the district in week 7.
Exactly.
Yeah. Those are tough.
But yeah, Donaldsonville hasn't played a single district game yet. But man,
that's right.
Look, DeCaleb Snoop Green. He's been balling. Yeah, look, we talked about him earlier in the season.
That's right.
Guys, I think he's over 20 TFLs for the year. He's a really physical end, 6'6", 180, quick. He just committed this past weekend to South Alabama. So he just recently committed to South Alabama. But guys, this is the nickname game, right? Ryan Moore, or also known as Bug, right? Bug, look. This kid, Bug and Snoop going at it, man. Look, I'm going to tell you, Bug is a freak of nature athlete. He went for 225 a few weeks ago against Albany on 5 receptions, 2 touchdowns, and the young man had 2 pick sixes in that game. He is a game breaker. And when I tell you guys, this stadium it's hidden when you're driving to LSU. Which I unfortunately have had to do sometimes this year. When you're driving out there, and if you go one of the back ways, you can see it. It's like hidden in the middle of nowhere. It's a gorgeous facility. It's an absolutely immaculate 1A facility. I'm really excited to see that one play out.
Yeah, and East Feliciana, just looking back at their schedule, and I know Kentwood hasn't had the greatest season, one maybe up to their standards. Week 1, they go over to Kentwood and win the game 32-26. And regardless of what Kentwood is or what they're doing, that's a tough place to play, and it's a tough place to win. So just the fact that they were able to do that, this East Feliciana team, another chance to get a victory over a bigger school, and you'll put another notch in their belt. Last one we'll dig into deep, but an out-of-state matchup. Legacy School of Sciences from Texas traveling back over to Louisiana. They played St. Aug earlier this year. They're traveling back. They will take on St. Charles in the house that Jason Dewey built, also known as Thomas Dupuy Memorial Stadium. You like that?
I didn't build nothing.
Oh, okay. We'll say you did.
Look, I had to sit I sat down left bench. I played left bench wonderfully, and I ran the ball in my 8th grade year. I did a great job.
Are you calling this one?
I'm not calling this one.
Oh, yeah.
At least to my knowledge.
Okay. This is – did you so they played last year, 4 overtimes. Legacy won 34-28. I think knowing what they did offensively to St. Aug this year, seeing that this game went 4 overtimes, I think this speaks to the type of defense that St. Charles has, even last year. Like, you play 4 overtimes with a team with as an explosive offense as this, you only give up 34 points. That's impressive. I know you lose a game. That's impressive. But this Legacy team averages 52 points a game. They have athletes everywhere. Yeah. Keyshawn Henderson, the 5-star quarterback, He's got 25 touchdowns coming into the week. They've got a receiver, Mike Brown, that's committed to Texas A&M. Like this, but again, we know the St. Charles team is going to be ready, and we know they're going to have a scheme. We know they're going to play hard. That's all, goes without saying. This is going to be an extremely fun matchup, between an extremely explosive offense and talented offense against a defense that's also talented, but that it plays really well.
I remember, I go back to this playoff game a bunch, but last year I see St. Charles Catholic in the playoffs. And what was St. Charles Catholic's record last year? 3-7, 4-6.
It was 3-7.
I think
3-7. So they're 3-7. I watch them play. 3-6. Okay, 3-6. I watch them play in the playoffs. I'm thinking to myself, this is a pretty good football team with 3 wins. Yeah. Now it's all making sense as I follow them a little bit closer this year and see what kind of schedule that they played to get to that 3-6. I mean, this is a heck of a schedule they play. Huge win for them last week, and then they turn around and play this team. So I mean, it just speaks to just the challenge that I guess you would say Coach Wayne Stein likes to put his team up against.
He ain't scared, that's for sure.
No, well, look, and this game got heated last year. This was a heated game, so St. Charles remembers. And look, their defense has been phenomenal. Their secondary, Dax Prejean has done a great job. Briggs Anderson. Then you also have Kristen McLean, who's been excellent in the return game. Skylar Edwards, you guys have been talking about. Again, comments going to happen. Look, when a team is scoring 52.8 points per game,
they got to score.
Can you guess what I'm going to say St. Charles is going to try and do in this game?
They're going to try to – they're airing it out, and they're going to go no time of possession.
Yeah, they're going to go. They're going
to trick them.
Yeah, they're going to go. Five wide. They go empty. No, look, we know they're going to run the ball with Landry LeBlanc. They might do some screens to Walker LeBlanc as well, but they're going to lean heavily on Skylar Edwards. But also, man, what's funny is, guys, this game is the epitome of St. Charles football. So, a side note, my dad went to the game. And he is the guy. We are playing Appalachian State Technical Institute of Technology at LSU, and he waits till there are 3 zeros on the scoreboard. He does not leave games early. He left this game early. There was 1:30 left on the clock. St. Charles was down 2 possessions. I called him up because I looked at the score. I said, "What happened in that game?" I said, "It went to 4 overtimes." He said, "What are you talking about?" What are you talking about? I said, "Dude, they were at 4 overtimes." I said, "No, they didn't." I said, "Go check online. I'm telling you." So the amount of time that it took for them to make this comeback and what they were able to do with that amount of time, it shows the fight in this team. Like, this is a team that did not have a lot of wins last year. They had to scrap and claw for every single win that they had. They beat a quality Terrebonne team as one of those few wins that they had in the season last year. So this is a really good football team, as you mentioned, in Legacy School of Sciences. But this defense of St. Charles is going to come out ready, and they're going to be ready to ground control the football.
Yeah, and I think that's a perfect segue when we go from talking about St. Charles to where we're going to talk for this next matchup, another non-district matchup with a River Parish team traveling up to North Louisiana. Destrehan traveling to Captain Shreve. Both teams come in at 4-2 overall. Destrehan, stars everywhere. I think they're led by everybody knows Jabari Mack at receiver, but I think what makes them go is the quarterback, Jackson Fields. They also have Malachi Dabney as a running back. Just firepower everywhere on that offense. Speaking of offense, Captain Shreve led by Jamaica Player, their running back. This is a team that their defense of Captain Shreve gives up 47 points a game. They have not given up less than 36 points in a game this year. This Destrehan team traveling up to Shreveport, if they're able to take care of the football, has a chance to put up big, big numbers.
Yeah, I mean, for every reason you just mentioned, I really like Destrehan here in this matchup because, I mean, this is Captain Shreve was giving up 47 points a game, and there's a good chance that this offense coming to town is their most seasoned, most experienced, maybe the best all-around offense. I don't think you mentioned Malachi Dabney, the running back. He's been great as well. And so they just a very balanced offense. Jackson Fields, he's a 3-4 year starter. I mean, he's just such a good senior quarterback, leader of that offense. So, with that said, I mean, this is a heck of a road trip. Destrehan traveling all the way to Captain Shreve. High school kids traveling for 4 or 5 hour trips doesn't always go well either. So if there's anything that will make you lean towards that Captain Shreve side, it is just that they're at home. But on a neutral site field, man, I think Destrehan. I really like Destrehan's chances here.
That's the question, though. And again, I think when you look at Destrehan, they're able to put up big numbers offensively. Captain Shreve can run the football exceptionally well. They do have a guy, Cardarian Devers, who's a phenomenal receiver. There was this clip of him reaching behind him, grabbing the football. It was either preseason or spring football. I can't remember. Speaking to his athleticism. I think this game is going to come down to, can Destrehan make that road trip, keep their head on their shoulders, not get lost in what else is going on, because we know they have such an explosive offense, because we know that their defense is a pretty solid group. They held, I think it was, Catholic. They held Catholic to, I believe it was only like 26 points, or there's something along the 24 to 28 point range. So this is going to be a
23.
Test. There you go, 23.
Mm-hmm.
So my question when you come into this game is, can Destrehan keep themselves mentally focused and prepared moving forward? Because, again, this is the type of stuff you're going to have to do for playoffs. So We'll see. We'll see what happens.
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like, this is a great trip when you have, some of these districts that have an odd number of teams. So somebody catches a bye somewhere in the middle of their district schedule. I think this is great scheduling on Destrehan's part. Go travel in the middle of the season, because you look back to their road last year in the playoffs, they went to Northwood and they went to Airline in back-to-back weeks. So you'd rather do it in week 7 when the stakes aren't if you lose, your season ends, but you're able to at least see what that's like. And this is a veteran team that's traveling up there. They played last year. Destrehan won 46-42. I don't know who's going to win. I'd be shocked if Destrehan, this is going to sound funny, only scores 46 points. I think this if Shreve's gonna win this game, Shreve might have to score 60. That's just kind of what it feels like. That might be what they want to do.
Captain Shreve has to turn this into a 1-5A football game.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you mentioned they do run the ball well, but it's almost like they run it so well with player, like it's just explosive play after explosive play. It's almost like sometimes, man, you want them to get tackled. Like let's just gain 8 yards. We don't need 60.
These defenses need masks, machines on the sideline to give them oxygen. Need some oxygen tanks on the sideline. These defenses, you're on the field, or better yet, both the offense too, because they run on a play and then they go back to the sideline.
Yeah, it's crazy. But you're right. That's a good way to put it. They're going to have to turn that into a 1-5A matchup. All right, quickly, we'll go through a few others. One that I'll start with, Curtis and Brother Martin. Curtis comes in undefeated 5-0. Brother Martin 4-1. I'm sorry, 4-2, 1-2 in district. This feels like, and I know there's a lot of season left, but kind of a pivotal moment in Brother Martin's season. They come out 2 weeks ago against Rummel. They get held. They get held to 7 points. Then they go against Carr, and they have a tough task last week with Carr, and lose 48-13. Now your reward for going through those 2 games is to, here you go. Here comes Curtis. So can Brother Martin kind of get up off the mat and, not just show some fight, but go win a football game against a really, really good program? And can Curtis keep this thing rolling, moving on in the Catholic League?
Yeah, a couple weeks ago, Curtis gave up a good bit of points versus Warren Easton, a lot of yards. They gave up a good bit of yards. They didn't give up a whole. They stood tall in the red zone against Holy Cross, but Holy Cross moved the football up and down the field on them. And so I think that this Brother Martin offense is a huge challenge for this Curtis defense. So really interested to see how both defenses hold up. We don't know a whole lot about Brother Martin up front either yet, but we do know that Rummel ran the ball really well on him. So Brother Martin up front in the box, can they match up and stop the VR game? Really, it's all about stopping the dive. Holy Cross did a really good job of that inside with that interior defensive line. So does Brother Martin have the size and men up front to really stop the dive from Curtis? So really interesting just to see how both of these defenses match up versus these offenses.
Can Brother Martin win second down? That's the question. Because when you go back to the Holy Cross game, Holy Cross won second down a ton.
Yep.
And brought up third and long. So it forced Curtis to kind of play outside of what they normally want to do.
Yeah.
They were showing us looks at glance that I had never seen them run. And I've watched a lot of Curtis football throughout the years of covering. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Curtis's secondary is really strong, but they had moments against Holy Cross where Holy Cross was connecting on some really nice passes down the field. And other than a few mishaps offensively through the air, I would say they passed the ball pretty well, considering this is a team that's predominantly run the football. So we know this Curtis, you got Horton back there, you got Jules Tapp. They've got some guys in that secondary for Curtis, but how will they match up against this passing game of Brother Martin? That's what's going to come down to.
Yeah, what can Hudson Fields, Easton Royal, and Lipscomb do against that Curtis defense? I think is going to be kind of what dictates how that game is going to be played. Another one kind of over in your neck of the woods, Jason, we hit on real quick. Lutcher and Edie White, both teams coming in at 3-3. It's a district matchup. Lutcher not having a season that maybe we're accustomed to, or they're especially accustomed to. Edie White 3-3, tough schedule. They haven't shied away from anyone, so they played a tough schedule. At 3-3, maybe a little bit deceiving. It's a Lutcher program. Obviously, we don't have to tell you how proud and tradition rich they are. They're used to winning. Edie White's a tough place to play, and it's a tough offense to slow down. So can Lutcher sees it every year in district. So can they kind of get both of these teams get their seasons back on track against what each of them are going to be playing a very formidable opponent?
Lutcher usually some of my favorite uniforms. They went to these gray pants I just saw. So now they're in my doghouse a little bit. Edie White, their 3 losses at a Holy Cross, Jesuit, and Hornville. So you talk about a deceiving record. To see what are they, class Division 3, I believe, right?
I think they're Division 2.
Wait,
2 or 3, yeah, they're somewhere in that.
They're both Division 2. They're both Division 2.
Selected, non-select.
Yeah. So I mean, that's 3 losses that Edie White had to Division 1 team. So Edie White is definitely, I think, the more battle-tested team here. So kind of like to see Edie White in this one.
Yeah, Grant Barbara, Carter Douglas in that backfield really do a great job. I really do like some of the pieces in this Lutcher team. Just haven't seemed to put it together consistently. Is there a chance, right? I really like Coy Ruiz. I like Zabinski at linebacker. I'm a big Caden Parquette fan. This will be their test. Go up against a dynamic Edie White offense. And Ashton Starks, the wide receiver, defensive back, return man, do everything guy. Can he have some explosive plays to spark this Lutcher offense? That'll be the question.
Yeah, it feels like Caden Parquette, with the way that Edie White wants to run offensively, Caden Parquette has a chance to really have a big night and wreak some havoc on that Edie White offense. Dutchtown at Denham Springs is another district matchup. Denham Springs 4-2, Dutchtown 4-1. This Dutchtown offense pretty explosive throughout the year, averaging 44 points a game defensively, only giving up 19 points a game. Don't know that their schedule has been that difficult, but nonetheless, that's really impressive. And again, this District 5A just seems like a fun district with Dutchtown, Denham, Walker, St. Amant, EA. That is a fun district, and 2 teams that I feel like they're all rivals. They all don't like each other. They all have really good stadiums, really good atmospheres. There's some good football on Friday nights.
Yeah, I just feel like they're exactly what high school football is supposed to look like when I see their stadiums and atmospheres. Great coaches here. Brett Beard was at Live Oak, built a heck of a Live Oak program when it was kind of in its infancy. I know I mentioned it before, this Denham Springs football team, really old, really mature football team. Guy Mastretta on the other side, another well-known name around Louisiana. And so, this would go either way. Coin toss game.
Yeah, Guy Mastretta, again, he won that title at Livonia. Mm-hmm. That was a really fun team to watch as well back in the day. But Denham Springs has a lot of players, like a lot of offensive weapons. So I'm interested to see. We know they have a lot of seniors returning on that team. We kind of looked at them as kind of a dark horse coming into this season. Well, here's your chance. Here's your opportunity to knock off one of the premier teams in your district in Dutchtown. So Brenton Paul's been running the football exceptionally well. DeJean and Deshaun Goldman, brothers, quarterback, wide receiver duo. have connected really well throughout the year. So I'm interested to see if this Denham Springs offense can find a way to muster enough offense to push this Dutchtown defense.
Yeah, Dutchtown week 1 lost to Madison Prep 48-41. They've rattled off 4 straight wins since then. They're coming off of a bye. They beat a Prairieville team 2 weeks ago that beat EA. They beat that Prairieville team 42-7. So Dutchtown has a chance to get another big win here in District 5A. Any more that jump out to you, Jason, as we start to wrap up our Week 7 preview? There you go, Hamilton Christian, baby.
I had to know.
I don't know if they still do it. Their uniforms used to look like Hawaii.
It does. They still do.
Okay.
They're sick. They have the H on the helmet too. Really clean look. But the reason I have to talk about this one is Elton is a team out in our parts that not a lot of teams think about, talk about, know about. Elton sits there in I personnel. They go big I and they run the ball right at you. And some may call it boring. I call it a lovely display of offense. I love it. But here's the big thing, though, guys. Macklin Lemoyne, 1,300 yards, nearing the 1,400-yard mark, leads the state in rushing yards to my count. 23 touchdowns. Oh, by the way, guys, last week they had a forfeit win because Oberlin, a team that came into the season with 18, let me say it one more time, Oberlin with 18 players had to forfeit because they couldn't go. So this is an offense that's really fun. I'm intrigued to see if this offense that puts up 45 points a game, sitting in the I formation, what they can do against a Hamilton Christian defense that goes a bit under the radar. 12.4 points a game for this defense. Javon Vital, really, over 2,600 yards a season to go, 32 touchdowns. He's a game breaker. He's an incredible player. There's a reason he's got 20 offers, it seems like, the colleges. But I'm interested to see how Elton's offense matched it up against this Hamilton Christian defense. And then the last one, briefly, Bruley actually beat Donaldsonville. We talked about earlier, 21-7 last week. West Feliciana is a team that played a tough schedule. But, guys, Bruley is silently under the radar here. 8.8 points per game defensively. And offensively, they are lighting it up through the air. The quarterback, Drake Vincent, 1,400 yards, 21 touchdowns. They got 2 guys, Patrick Gales, a Nichols commit at receiver, who's over 500 yards for 8 touchdowns, and Darian Bennett, 450 yards for 7 touchdowns. So the interesting thing looking at here is a defense in West Feliciana that's given up 32.6 points a game. Can they slow down this Bruley offense? And the only loss this Bruley team has so far is to a Plaquemine team that arguably is competing for a Division II non-select state title, and they threw 4 picks in that game. So can West Feliciana's defense apply enough pressure to force some interceptions?
Can I add a fun fact, Cass? See if you know this one. Elton had a former NFL football player now, but he was our age, played in the NFL, played at LSU, got drafted by the Saints. Any idea?
Can I get a position?
Defensive tackle.
Oh, man.
Tough one.
Not Devon Gotcha. No.
No, he was playing in 1A football when I was playing in 1A football.
Did y'all play him?
I didn't, thank God, because I was scared to death. If we had to play him, I was a quarterback. Imagine me having to – imagine my offensive line blocking this guy. You know what it is, Jason?
Yeah, well, I cheated. I have to admit, I cheated. I couldn't help it. Al Woods, man.
Al Woods.
He was a dog.
Yep.
Al Woods, I remember that.
Football player.
That's crazy. I think it's hilarious when you get those athletes at 1A level, and it's they play a different game.
Well,
Yes,
like we were talking about, right? So it's like when you got you got a 6'3" guy, 300 pounds. It's like, dude, it's at a 1A, 2A level. That's a 6'8", 400-pound guy. Like
it's
Joe
basically
McKnight,
your boy from Carr playing 1A football right now. Imagine,
guys, Joe McKnight played 2A football. Like him running around. I got to see him up close and personal a few times back in the day. And I mean, St. Charles was had a great scheme, had a great plan, but battle plans are great until they make first contact, right? So sometimes that's how it plays out.
Yeah, that's funny. And it seems like our state produces those guys like almost once a year. There's just like a guy from out in the middle of nowhere that just shows up and just unbelievable football player. Well, that's going to do it. We good? Anywhere else we want to go? We're good. That was fun. That was a blast. I know, Jason, you got a big week ahead of you, so we wish you and the wife nothing but luck, and you enjoy. And look, man, we expect you to be back out there on Friday night. Don't miss no other time.
Well, it's Saturday, so plan on it.
Okay, no, so good. So you get extra day. There you go. We'll do that. No, that'll be fun. But we appreciate you all that stayed and watched. And if you would go follow us on our social media on X. You can also like and subscribe our YouTube channel where you can catch us live every Sunday and Tuesday night. We will see you all again on Sunday night where we will recap what promises to be a very exciting and fun Week 7 of Louisiana high school football. For Lance and Jason, I am Cass. Thanks for watching Talking Ball, y'all.